Hello everyone, today we'll be looking at a plus 21 Spires of Ascension. We'll take an in-depth dive into the route we took for this run and try to explain the most important key factors to look out for a protection paladin. The first pull we see in the beginning here is pretty standard. We pull the 2 packs in the beginning along with the Goliath. Having a Resto Shaman in your group will be extremely helpful for the sole reason that they can solo kick the Goliath themselves. As a prod paladin, I recommend that you solo kick one of the castigators here so that the other 3 DPS can comfortably rotate on kicks for the other casters. As you can see, I only used 1 defensive cooldown here, and that's Ardent Defender. Since I spec'd into Holy Avenger, I was able to keep Ardent Defender up pretty much the entire pool. The second pull is much easier than the first. The only things to look out for is making sure your kicks are being rotated efficiently here, and making sure that if you are the only melee DPS in the group, that you pick up the hammers that are dropped by the Mender when it's dispelled. For the third pull, we have the Mender CC'd on the right to make this a bit more tangible. We have the Resto Shaman solo kick the Goliath if you have one, and I again recommend that you solo kick the Castigator yourself as well. You can definitely pull the Mender with the Pride that spawns after killing the initial adds so that you get the melee buff from the Mender, making the Prideful spawn a lot more tangible to kill. This boss in Spires I hate with a passion. The boss mechanics here hit you really hard for a prot pally, and you are prone to getting a one-shot when you're not careful. My strongest suggestion here is to try to maintain 100% Shield of the Righteous uptime while staying in your consecration as much as possible. This way you maximize the mitigation for the overhead slash that happens every so often during the boss encounter. Always make sure you don't go in between the boss and the ad so that the link in between them doesn't give you any more stacks. The more stacks you get, the more damage you receive over time, and that is a no-no when you're taking overhead slash as well. Since you get prideful at the beginning of the fight, I recommend that you avoid using your Divine Steed until the prideful buff wears out. This way you have extra mobility when you need to move the boss towards the ad. As I was saying earlier, try to maintain Shield of the Righteous uptime as much as possible, otherwise you die just like this. Even though I was at 75% health, the boss was able to one-shot me right as my Shield of the Righteous ticked off. Don't be afraid to use additional defensives when you're low at health, or if he somehow can't build enough holy power in time to mitigate the next overhead slash. In Spires, I like to go left first since we go towards the right hand side for our route. You will be pulling 2 packs of adds, which will require you as a tank to position carefully so that they don't jump all over the place. All you have to do is ensure that the backs of the adds are facing a wall so that when they leap back, they don't leap far away from the group, prohibiting you from doing AoE damage to them as they do more damage to you and the group when they're far away. The next group of adds used to be trickier to pull, but after patch 9.05, the adds have been fixed and therefore are a lot easier to manage. Just make sure that you rotate your kicks efficiently with the ether drivers. The next pull coming up here is a little bit more trickier for us prot paladins since we don't have amazing mobility. Once you get into the higher plus 20 keys, efficiency is extremely valuable. That's why you try to save time by pulling all the adds in this area along with the Praetor. But to make this a little bit more tangible for us prot paladins, I like to pull all the Tigers first, make sure they're controlled and slowed, and from there pull the Praetor. The reason why I don't pull the Praetor after the Tigers die is because of the Prideful that spawns immediately after this. I'd like to use the Prideful for a big pull immediately after we kill it. The next pull coming up is extremely sketchy and could turn south quick when you don't have a coordinated group. I like to pull the patrol that we initially see in the beginning of this platform, as well as the 2 Goliaths. We will of course less this pull as well. I did stagger pulling the Goliaths only because we did not have trees up from the boomy. I waited about 3 seconds before trees came up so that I can pull the next pack safely. You really have to make sure as a prod pally tank that you call out the kicks efficiently here so that we don't miss the fists that are cast by the Goliaths. I generally have the Resto Shaman solo 1 Goliath for interrupts and have the other 3 DPS rotate on the other. Since this pull is a little bit scary even with Lust, we see the healer using Spirit Link to mitigate a little bit more damage. Once we got the pull to 1 Goliath with low HP, I decided to chain pull to maximize efficiency. All you have to do here is to make sure that you rotate your kicks efficiently with the ether divers. This next pull is fairly easy compared to the other pulls. All we have to do is make sure that we kick the ether divers and the champion when needed. And another thing to look out for is the skirmisher jumping all over the place. To minimize that, we use Vortex from our druids. We do get a prideful spawn after killing these set of ads, and we'll use that prideful buff to kill 2 packs of ads following after we kill the pride. You might be at the mercy of the patrols that patrol back and forth here, so I suggest waiting for the 2 packs to line up together just like this, so that you can use the spear, if you're carrion, to freeze them all in place. This is one of my favorite pulls of the entire dungeon since we all do big damage. This next pull is extremely easy. All we have to do is focus the squadron leader since it reduces our damage. In order to make this next pull easier, we CC as many ads as possible so we can solo target the leader. With my comp, I organize CCs by hexing the Inquisitor, hibernating the Ether Diver, freeze trapping the Praetor, and polymorphing the champion. We did miss a freeze trap, which made this a bit tougher. It might take some good aim to freeze trap the Praetor here. We also get a prideful spawn after this pull, so it's imperative that we kill all the ads evenly after we kill the leader. The second boss should be fairly easy with both the prideful buff and lust coming up. Positioning is also important here, so I like to keep the residue that he leaves off when he casts Dark Stride into one spot. This way it makes it easier for the healer and range to avoid the orbs that are being spewed out. We do pull the solo Hellion after the second boss. It shouldn't be too hard since it's only one ad. After we kill the Hellion, I make my way to the right hand pack of skirmishers and charge in first, since we don't want the healer and DPS dying from their hurl ability. We'll LOS these adds to the pillar closest to the boss. The third boss in Spires should also be pretty easy. Positioning is also important. I like to pull the boss all the way to the platform I'm currently on right now, and make my way down a linear line when he casts the Imperial Ordnance ability. That way it's easier for you to soak the orbs during the intermission phase. Keep in mind that you can also use Blessing of Freedom for the stomp that he casts every so often. Doing so will render you immune for that cast. Don't forget to use Bubble when soaking these orbs so your healer can focus on DPS and the boss during the intermission phase. I do like to skip the last Pride since I feel like it's a waste of time when you do have to spawn it. So I end up skipping the left hand side pack of skirmishers and pull them after we kill the last boss. The best order of pulling these mini bosses is middle, left hand side, then right with Lust. Make sure when you pull the left hand mini boss that you use the entire platform to maneuver around the spears that spawn. You don't want to be stuck in a corner hoping to God that you don't get hit by the spears. The third mini boss should be fairly easy when you use the Kyrian Spear along with Lust. You blow big damage here. The reason why you use Lust here is because of how hard this mini boss hurts compared to the main boss on fortified weeks. You get more value out of using Lust on this mini boss than the boss itself. It's pretty much downhill from here when you get to the last boss. I like to have the Fire Mage take care of the spear for us during intermission since they can use their rune ability to buff the spear damage. Allowing them to do that takes between 10 to 15% of the boss's health, making the phases a lot quicker. After the boss dies, we have everyone jump off the ledge and release if they can't mitigate the fall damage. The spawn location is already at the bottom. We will pull the skirmishes we left out and kill only 2 to finish the count. For this run, we did take it easy and staggered pulls when we had to. You can definitely time plus 20 keys when you play cleanly. As someone famous said, perfection is doing many small things correctly. If you like this video and want to show some support, make sure to like and sub the YouTube channel for more Prot Paladin content. If you want to ask questions live, send a follow on my Twitch channel as I am generally on throughout the week. Thank you guys for watching.